Welcome to The Explainer. Okay, let's dive right into this fascinating mathematical framework that completely redefines how we think about personal growth, leadership, and honestly, human evolution itself. We're looking at Dr. Hideto Tomabichi's cognitive evolution theory, specifically the 5-theorem version. If you've ever felt completely stuck while trying to reach a goal, well, this explainer is going to show you the exact invisible mathematics of why that happens.
You know the drill, right? We always hear change your habits or set new goals, the classic routine that usually lasts until about, January 14th? But as we're going to see, forcing behavior simply doesn't work if your internal cognitive landscape stays exactly the same. The basic premise here is that human action isn't just a simple, isolated decision. You can't just mandate change and expect it to stick.
So here's our roadmap for today. We'll cover why action-based change fails, your total comfort zone, the power of shared spaces, aiming for higher ground, making the future real, and finally, the evolution of human altruism.
All right, jumping into section 1, why action-based change fails, and the illusion of forced behavior.
The absolute crucial takeaway here is that human behavior isn't just some simple decision you make. It's actually a direct output of what your brain currently accepts as its stable reality. Dr. Tomabichi's framework looks at the mind using the exact same mathematical rigor that physics uses for matter. If your internal world, your beliefs, your emotions, your self-image, views a certain state as your normal, well, any behavior that violates that normal is going to be incredibly hard to sustain.
Now, this part is absolutely fascinating. Dr. Tomabichi neutrally takes this heavy mathematical concept, one with deep roots in national security and cognitive warfare, and he brilliantly flips it on its head to empower individuals. In cognitive warfare, the goal is to alter an opponent's decision-making terrain so they naturally choose the path you want. It's all about changing what feels natural to them. But in this explainer, we're looking at the exact inverse. We're using that same math not to manipulate, but to elevate. By redesigning your own cognitive terrain, you increase your autonomy and make your absolute highest goals feel like the most natural path to take.
Moving right along to section 2, your total comfort zone, or the gravity in the landscape of the mind. You can actually think of this mathematical function, let's just call it V for now, as your mind's internal discomfort meter. Your brain is constantly evaluating your current state. Are your beliefs aligning with your reality? Are you feeling secure? The higher this V value gets, the more internal friction, cognitive cost, and instability you feel. Naturally, your mind wants this number to be as low as humanly possible. And this brings us to your total comfort zone, or TCZ. Imagine this as a literal valley of peace in your cognitive terrain. It isn't just about feeling cozy or being lazy on the couch. Mathematically speaking, it's an entire region of states where your internal discomfort meter drops below a certain tolerable threshold. It's where your mind naturally settles down, because the cognitive cost of existing there is just incredibly low. When we look at these 4 simultaneous meanings of the TCZ, we realize something pretty profound. It's a stable area, sure. It's an attractor basin, meaning kind of like gravity, things just roll down into it. But it is also a visibility boundary and an identity frame. This means true goals are entirely invisible to you right now because they exist completely outside this valley. If a goal sits outside your TCZ, your ego doesn't even register it as a viable option. It literally just looks like unnecessary discomfort.
So that is Theorem 1 in a nutshell. It's the unification formula. Your ego isn't some mystical, abstract concept here. It's essentially an optimal control mechanism. It calculates the path of least resistance to minimize that evaluation cost over time. It acts exactly like gravity, making sure you slide right back down into your familiar valley of comfort. And honestly, that is exactly why pure willpower fails. You are quite literally fighting gravity.
Okay, section 3, the power of shared spaces and building bridges to others. This perfectly translates Theorem 2. Imagine every single person has their own personal valley, but there's a social cost when we interact and our realities just don't match up. By acting like invisible springs, pulling people together to reduce that social friction, teams and groups can actually form a shared total comfort zone. Everyone aligns their realities until they find a new, collective valley where they can all exist with minimal discomfort. If you want the exact mathematical recipe for group alignment, it's right here. It's a balancing act. To reach a shared valley, your ego works to balance lowering its own personal discomfort meter while simultaneously minimizing the cognitive mismatch, or friction, with the people around you. Which takes us to section 4, aiming for higher ground and the power of the LUB. Now, this next concept is a total mind bender from the source material. In the physical world, time pushes us forward from the past, right? Entropy or chaos always increases. Things inevitably break down. But cognitive time operates completely differently. Our cognitive time is actually organized by the pull of the future. When we set a truly compelling future goal, it organizes our present. As our level of abstraction increases, our meaning entropy actually decreases. Mental clutter just drops away because that future goal unifies all those scattered thoughts. And Theorem 3 tells us that when we add an abstraction potential to our goals, we aren't just compromising. Instead, we climb together into a higher, much more encompassing valley, known mathematically as the least upper bound, or LUB. Think of it like moving from a bitter argument over two competing ideas to finding a higher level concept that beautifully integrates both of them without destroying what makes them unique. All right, Section 5, Making the Future Real, and the Mechanics of Symbolic Culture. But how do we actually get there? This sequence is the Tomobichi Symbolic Culture Generation Theorem, and it maps out exactly how humanity uses culture to make a distant, abstract future feel incredibly real. First, the abstract idea exists. Then, we create symbols, songs, stories, myths. These symbols dramatically increase the presence or the reality of that high-level concept. Because it suddenly feels more real, the perceived discomfort of going there drops, and boom, the ego's gravity pulls you toward this higher reality. What this means is absolutely wild. Art, music, literature, stories, they aren't just pretty decorations for society. In this framework, they are literal evolutionary tools. They are cognitive bridges designed specifically to lower the discomfort of moving into a new, higher, more complex valley of the mind. They take the abstract future and make it tangible. Finally, Section 6, Evolution of Human Altruism and Why We Developed Art and Ethics. The Tomobichi evolution theorem mathematically proves that these specific traits, altruism, the ability to generate presence, and the creation of symbolic culture, actually increase our evolutionary fitness. Altruism isn't just about being nice. It literally expands the radius of who counts as us, which improves our shared survival in these highly abstract shared realities. Ultimately, our highest human virtues are mathematically necessary adaptations for our survival. When we look at the calculus of human evolution through this lens, the pursuit of peace, the creation of profound art, and complex moral systems, they are not accidents. They aren't just byproducts. They are the exact predicted outputs required for a species trying to survive and thrive together in higher and higher cognitive valleys. I'm going to leave you with a thought to really chew on today. If your ego naturally follows the gravity of whatever feels most intensely real to you, then the most important question isn't, what should I do today? It's time to ask yourself, who is designing your future valley? Are you letting the past define your comfort zone? Or are you actively constructing a higher reality that your mind naturally wants to fall into? Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and hey, keep reaching for that higher ground.